Hello, Dare2Be Artsy fans. Michelle Houghton here from scrapweaver.com and over at Copic in the craft room. I am going to be demonstrating a fun card with a Dare2Be Artsy background die, and this one is leaf. It has kind of three pieces to it. It has the actual leaf, it has a frame, and then it has this wonderfully doodled section in the middle. And that is the part I used to die cut my craft paper, and it's kind of sitting off to the side there. You can see that. And then I am also going to use a sheet of tracing paper or vellum. A lot of us have vellum in our craft stash, but in this case, I'm using a sheet of tracing paper. I have a lot of that lying around my house, so that is what I use instead sometimes. And then I've got 4 Copic markers, and I'm going to start coloring on the vellum or tracing paper. Oh, and I have a craft card base as well. So I'm going to start with YR18, and this is about as fast and easy as it gets. Once you've die cut that piece out, I literally just scribble the color on the vellum or tracing paper. So YR18 is first, and then I come in with a Y08. Now you can see on the vellum, because it's slick or a non-porous surface, it kind of picks up on the marker. So sometimes I'm going to need to scribble off some of that excess color so it doesn't end up on my nib. That was the YR04. And then I've got, I decided it needed a little more color in there, so I'm using an E35, and I'm going to put some little tiny scribbles just to break it up a little bit further. It looks a little camouflage at this point, and then I missed it with colorless blender, and then my head's going to get in the shot, and I apologize. I'm blowing on the vellum. Because it is that non-porous surface, the alcohol stays wet longer, and it allows you to move the ink around the page. So I blow on it and kind of create these forms, and then decide, yep, that's going to be a big enough blob. It's going to fit on my card. So all I need to do is trim some pieces down. The other thing I realized pretty fast is that if I put that vellum on top, directly on top of the craft card base, you're not going to see those vivid colors anymore. But if I put them on top of a piece of white paper, so I've trimmed down white cardstock to the size of the leaf die cut, adding just a little bit of wet adhesive onto the edge of the white cardstock and adhering the vellum, and that's going to brighten those colors. The whole point of the vellum is it's going to allow me to move that ink around, and so that's why I use that paper to do that specific technique. Then I'm putting that wet adhesive again, your favorite kind of craft glue along the edge of the die cut. I like using that on the die cuts and smaller things like this because it allows me to kind of wiggle them a little bit and get them right exactly where I want them. This is going to end up with a very small white edge, and I'm okay with that because it kind of highlights it once I put it down on the craft card base. I'm adding a little bit of adhesive under some of those little tiny corners and swirls just so they don't get caught going in and out of an envelope as much as anything. Certainly not needed, but just kind of creates a little bit more stable base for that card. Then I decide I'm going to go ahead and color the full leaf. I could put a sentiment on here. If you watch my card making a lot, I actually don't add a lot of sentiments, and that's just because I never know what I want the card for. So I'm starting with the YR18, and then I'm blending and pulling out with a YR04. So I'm going from dark to light. So I started on the darker color and pulled out into the white space, or in this particular case, the craft area. And then a Y08 is that last one. So same colors I used underneath, but obviously on the craft it's considerably darker. I came in after that with an E35 to kind of highlight those edges on the leaf, but also to add some vein work down the center, and then a few veins kind of flicking out from each side. And once I have that finished, then I go ahead and adhere this down to my card base. At this point, I would also definitely use just kind of a standard double-sided adhesive, but this works. I've got it out and working. So I really do appreciate you stopping by. This is a fun, easy technique. You could pump these out pretty fast because you could roll those die cuts through the die cut machine, and then those backgrounds just are really fast, and it just creates a beautiful effect. I hope you have a chance to stop by the store, and from all of us, we dare you to be artsy.